How you doing? I'm Martin Grass, and this is my story.
Rite Aid is a retail pharmacy and also offers pharmacy services. They were incorporated on April 15, 1968. They have 4,560 stores in more than 30 states.
This is the Porter's Five Forces model for the pharmaceutical industry. In terms of competition, there is a high level of rivalry among existing firms. The industry is dominated by multiple competitors, ranging from drug retail chains like CVS and Walgreens to supermarkets and mass merchandisers such as Walmart and Costco. The threat of new entrants is medium, and the threat of substitute products is high. The power lies between the customer and the suppliers. Customers have a high bargaining power, and this is because the cost of switching pharmacies is relatively low. The supplier's bargaining power is medium, but relationships with suppliers has historically driven company success throughout the industry. In fact, Rite Aid purchases 87% of their pharmaceutical supplies from one supplier.
The pharmacy industry is driven by aging population, increased awareness of health issues, and advances in medical treatment. The profitability of individual companies depends on access to medical insurance groups. The pie chart illustrates the industry market share. Walgreens claims 28.6%. CVS has 21.7%. And Rite Aid holds 11.6%. They also compete with stores like Walmart and other pharmacies which claim a decent portion of the market share.
Hi, Mr. Grass.
Hey, how you doing, young one? I need you to make these for me, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
The Rite Aid fraud was committed by the former senior management of the company. The three main people involved were Martin Grass, the former CEO, Frank Bergonzi, the former CFO, and Franklin Brown, the vice chairman. These people conducted various accounting fraud schemes in which they managed to overstate income by massive amounts. As with any fraud, it is important to consider the fraud triangle. There were incentives and pressures that senior management faced which led them to commit the fraud. There were also many opportunities that these three individuals had which allowed them to get away with their crimes for many quarters. And finally, these people managed a way to rationalize their actions to convince themselves that what they were doing wasn't wrong.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Grass. What incentives did you have to commit fraud?
You know, I had plenty of incentives. Our company, we needed debt and equity financing to stay competitive. So I figured any way I could get that to happen, I'd make it happen, you know. I also had, me personally, I had significant financial interest in this entity, and for me, if it performs well, I perform well, you know. So
what opportunities to commit fraud did you have?
hey, opportunities. My middle name is Opportunity. I was the king, the head honcho. Pretty much me ruled over the whole business, right? My family, I got this company from my father. So what's somebody gonna do? Come tell daddy's boy that he can't do what he wants? Of course, I do whatever I want.
So does that kind of go into your rationalization of it too?
Yes, of course, you know, I mean, it's my family's business, and my pay is based upon the company's success. So I figure my family company, if it does well, I do well. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Wouldn't you?
Incentives and pressures for Rite Aid senior management included that the company needed to obtain debt or equity financing in order to stay competitive. There were significant financial interests in the entity. A significant portion of compensation for these people was contingent upon achieving aggressive targets for stock price, operating results, financial position, or cash flow. Rite Aid wanted to be a powerful retail company. They wanted to sell their shares and at a good price for that matter. These people's salaries were based on performance, and specifically, Martin Grass wanted to enrich himself at shareholder expense, and he wanted to do better than his father, given that his father was the founder of the company.
Rite Aid had many opportunities, one of which was the domination of management by a single person or a small group. In this case, it was a small group. The small group was consisted of Martin Grass, CEO, Frank Bergonzi, CFO, and Franklin Brown, Vice Chairman. In addition, there were many family links that many individuals within the firm did not know about. Moreover, Rite Aid failed to maintain internal accounting controls sufficient to provide reasonable assurance that transactions were reported conforming to GAAP. Lastly, they had a lot of management override of controls. They were able to influence their staff into making fraudulent activities. Within the small group of individuals that committed the fraudulent activities, they all shared the same rationalization: to maintain high living standards, to ensure real estate transactions for their families, and to ensure their ambition and competence. Moreover, Martin Grass, CEO, was able to bully his employees and partners by persuading them to commit fraud in which they were unaware of.
So now you want me to get into the nitty-gritty of the financial statements. How you see, the thing is that we had done these financial statements so well that it was very difficult for anybody, our auditors included, to pick up this fraud simply by looking at the financial statements. So we were really okay until we filed our registration assessment, whatever you call it, to the SEC. I believe that was on November 6, 98. And the SEC came back to us with some concerns and some inquiries, if you will, and they asked us some questions. And so I told my boy Frank to just tell him some lies, right, to get us out of it. And so that's what he did. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, we did have some debt issues and some cash issues, right? And if you look at our quick ratio from 98 to 99, you will see that our quick ratio did drop those 2 years. And it's because perhaps we were a little too over-levered for our own good, and we simply just didn't have the amount of cash we needed to really get us out of any liabilities in the event that we needed to. But other than those 2 years and that one ratio, like I said, it's very difficult to pick up on this thing. Now I'll give you an example of how we reversed these entries, and the SEC documented this, but I'll read it out loud to you to give you some color. But they went on to discuss that in connection with the closing of our books for the second quarter of 98, we credited our retail sales general ledger expense accounts for the month of August by a total of $9 million. The amounts credited in August were reversed in the following month, that is September. And you see the effect of this expense reduction was to overstate our pre-tax income for the second quarter by $9 million. And then the reversal in the following month had the effect of understating pre-tax income in the third quarter of fiscal year 98. So you see, we just did these things and then we reversed them, but they worked for us for the time being, as we needed to file those quarterly reports.
When I come around, I see the clouds are gray. The light keeps me up high, floating away. If the sun shines off my eyes, I fall to